Don't be afraid to start over just because you don't have, your day ones or your family or whoever there backing you up. Sometimes you have to just trust in yourself and believe that you can do the hard things on your own. I want to talk about how starting over alone and solo travel literally changed my life, okay? But before we get into that, I make these videos for women who know that something in their life needs to change. They don't know maybe exactly what it is yet, but they're ready for a change. We're going to talk about those things here. So if that sounds like you, I want you to come take this walk with me. We are in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and although I'm not here solo on this trip, I started off traveling solo and even moving across the country by myself. But that was after I had moved to 2 different states with my best friend. And I moved for different reasons, but mostly because I was bored in the places that I was. I left a job first, moved to New York, but I did that with my best friend. And so once I was done with New York, I was ready to move on. We decided we were going to move to LA. So it was cool. It was always like having, I always like to say it's kind of like having a safety blanket. You have that person there that helps you feel comfortable. They already know you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to, try too hard because this person already knows you. And so we did a lot of those first initial moves and that discomfort together. So it made it a lot easier, of course. But she decided to take a temporary job in Dallas while we were still living in LA. And I realized just how codependent I had become in that friendship. We did everything together. People are like, oh my gosh, you guys are always together. But when you have a best friend and you guys happen to live together, like, why not? So when she left and I was finally on my own, I was like, man, this is a whole different experience. And with everything going on with me in LA, this would have been 2016. Being honest, I was scraping by. I had a job, but I think I was only making like $20 an hour, which of course, if you know, in LA, that ain't shit. So I had the opportunity to move to Atlanta, stay with my sister for free, and kind of just restart my life. I was able to pivot my career from working in corporate to then doing freelance work. But I had to leave my best friend. And let me cross the street. I had to leave my best friend, and that was really hard. But I realized that it was also necessary because it almost felt like I didn't know how to do things on my own anymore, being honest. And so I took that trip. Even though I was moving to be closer to family too, but I took a solo trip driving from LA to Atlanta. I made stops along the way. I stopped in the Grand Canyon. I stopped in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I went to Dallas, where I also have family and I used to live. And then I finally made my way to Atlanta. And even though I had family in Atlanta, it was a whole different experience. It's not like they were there wanting to hang out with me and had time. Everyone was just living their own lives. And so my expectations of what I thought it would be living around family didn't exactly meet my expectations. And so I tell people that a lot. If you're moving or making changes in your life for a particular person or a group of people, you almost have to be prepared for disappointment, because everyone has their own things going on, and you can't be mad at them for that, living their lives. You can't be mad at that. And so when I moved to Atlanta, when I moved to Atlanta, as I was there trying to just find my people, find my tribe, and I had some friends there. One girl, shout out to Danielle, I had met in LA, and so she really connected me with a lot of her friends from college, and so it was a whole fun experience. It was great. But I still didn't feel like that was the place for me to really settle down and make home. So I decided to then take my solo trip. And I've told this story a lot of times, but never on YouTube, about how a breakup led to me going to Bali. That was all in this Atlanta time frame. I think I'll have to share that story at some point. But all of that to say, I ended up, taking that trip, moving without my best friend. That was the first time that I was starting over solo for the most part. But then when I took that solo trip to Bali, I went completely by myself. And I'm gonna move because it's starting to get loud. So I took that first solo trip to Bali. I was there for 6 weeks. I didn't know anyone. And what I realized during that time is that when you're by yourself, you don't have anyone there to depend on, to bounce ideas off of. It really makes you come into your own. You have to troubleshoot on your own. You have to deal with conflicts. I had an issue when I was there in Indonesia where I didn't come in on the proper visa. And so I had to troubleshoot that and figure it out. And it was a little scary at first because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here by myself. What am I doing? But I still made it through anyway. And the whole point in me even bringing that up is that when you only have yourself to depend on, you have no one else to count on, you're going to figure it out. And so with that troubleshooting, for myself in a whole nother country, completely far away from my family and anyone I knew, it really built my confidence, because dealing with that particular situation and just being in an unfamiliar place where I didn't speak the language, I didn't really know people, it reminded me that I am capable of hard things. And so during that trip, it taught me a lot about myself, and it also sparked this travel bug. Once you take your first solo trip and you're able to move in the way you want to move, you don't have to consult anyone, you don't have to ask anyone's permission. It's kind of addictive. And so that was the first solo trip. I did meet people along the way. The other thing that being on your own forces you to do is go out, be open, meet people. And so I met a lot of really cool people that I still talk to today during that first trip. And I was there that first 6 weeks, and then I came back to America for 1 month and went right back to Bali the very next month. And so the purpose in, taking those solo trips is, yeah, you want to have fun, but also it teaches you about yourself. You start to get more comfortable with your own company, which a lot of people are afraid to do. You're afraid of being alone. The silence can feel too loud, but I think what's really important about learning how to be comfortable with your own company and get comfortable being alone is you get to hear what you think without someone else's opinion being inserted. And that's really important. A lot of times we don't even know what we think. We don't know if the beliefs that we have, I'm struggling with this phone. We don't know if the beliefs that we have are actually our own, because you haven't taken the time to really examine what's the origin of this belief. And so spending time in your own company, whether that's in your own home country or somewhere abroad, I think that's life-changing. So I recommend that to everyone. So those are, three of the things that I got out of starting over in a new state and a new country on my own, is releasing that codependence that had, come up in my friendship, learning how to troubleshoot and resolve conflict without needing someone there as my backup. It gave me self-confidence that I am capable of a lot of things that I never gave myself credit for. And, I feel like when I came back to America, I was walking different, y'all. Because I'm like, man, I did this. And was it scary? Yes, it was scary. I didn't have fear on the flight over, but that very first day that I woke up in Bali, I'm like, who goes to a whole nother country by themselves for 6 weeks as your first solo trip? But I'm so glad that I took that experience because it literally changed the trajectory of my life. And so then fast forward to me I've traveled to 10 different countries on my own, because now I'm just like, I can do this. I can do this. I can go. I can adapt. I can adjust. I can be flexible and meet people. I'm more of a social person, because I'm like, if I don't go out and actively and intentionally meet people, I'm going to go through life alone. And who wants that? So, yeah, I think if you're afraid of starting over, if you're waiting for someone to come with you, whether that's just taking the trip or moving or going even to the movies. I was scared to go to the movies by myself or go out to eat by myself. But I intentionally said, you know what? I'm going to start taking myself on solo dates. And the solo dates started while I was living in LA. I'm like, I have to start being comfortable being alone. And it's not because I want to be alone in life. It's just that if you're not comfortable with your own company, how can you expect someone else to be comfortable with you? That's the way I look at it. And so, I took my last solo trip was when I came to Thailand, and I ended up meeting my husband. So now I'm no longer traveling solo. But I do want to say, in all the years that I was doing my own thing and making decisions for myself, I didn't have to compromise, and that's great. But it also made me hyper independent in a way that I had not expected. And I didn't see that until I got into a relationship with my now husband. And so, I thought, oh, it's good because I'm by myself. I'm not being triggered. I'm doing all of this healing, inner work, which is great. I think that's necessary. But you also have to be conscious of what can come along with all of that alone time. So just be conscientious of that. So yeah, I highly recommend that women travel alone, make decisions on your own, and don't be afraid to start over just because you don't have, your day ones or your family or whoever there backing you up. Sometimes you have to just trust in yourself and believe that you can do the hard things on your own. So, yes, if this resonated with you, if you are considering making some kind of change, whether it's a pivot to, traveling solo, starting a new job, getting into a new relationship, sometimes making those big life decisions can be scary. So I made a free email course that's all about that. It's about how to make those big life shifts without losing yourself. So I'm going to link that in the description, and I'm glad you guys came and took this walk with me, not for me, with me. And I will see you guys tomorrow.